Good morning, boys and girls, and welcome to Story Time, Thursday morning story time. And you can also look at this later on. You don't have to look at it right at 10 o'clock on Tuesday. It'll be online for a while. And it's Miss Ross or Nanny, and I have a book this morning I'm going to read to you called Kindergarten Hat. And if you will remember that last week we had one called Miss Bendergarten Gets Ready for Kindergarten. And that was such a good book. So when I found this book, The Kindergarten Hat, I thought we'll just read it again. Read it this week as a follow-up to that one, and I hope you enjoy it. The Kindergarten Hat. And as you can see, this is the kindergarten teacher with a beautiful hat on, and this is the first day of school. I think you're going to really enjoy this book. Now, as I've told you before, kindergarten is the class that you're in right before you go to first grade. And I think that you will enjoy this book. You know, a lot of children, sometimes when they're just starting school, they are a little bit, and I'm going to use a big word, they're a little bit apprehensive. And that means that they are maybe just a little bit afraid of going to school for the first time. And this is sort of what happened with this little boy, Carlos, in this book. So I'm going to read it to you and hope you enjoy it, but it turns out to be just wonderful. All right, on the first page, he is standing out in the yard with his mother, and he's looking up at her, and he says, "I don't want to go to kindergarten," Carlos said as he worked in his garden. Excuse me. Do I need to start over? "I won't know anyone there. New friendships blossom in new places," said his mother. And then he says here, "What if the bus gets lost?" Carlos asked. "Oh, it won't," said his mother. "What if I can't find my teacher?" he asked. "Oh, you will," his mother replied. But Carlos wasn't so sure. The next day the mail arrived while Carlos was practicing his moves. "A letter for me," he cried, and you see the mailman giving his mother the letter. His mother read it to him. "Dear Carlos, I hope you're having a fun summer. I will be your teacher this year. On the first day, I will wear a huge flowered hat. Please bring a flower for it and a big kindergarten smile. I can't wait to meet you. Your teacher, Mrs. Bachet." And at the bottom she added, "P.S. Sometime soon, please send me a photo of you doing something that you love." Now, wasn't this nice of the kindergarten teacher to send him a letter? Excuse me. Welcome. So Carlos spent 2 days deciding what photo to take and send. He liked building forts, he liked playing soccer, and he liked booming cars. He liked drawing pictures and fiddling on Mom's phone. And you see these pictures here. This shows him building forts. This shows him with his cars. Here he's drawing pictures. And here he's looking at his mother's phone. So he's trying to decide what photo or picture he needs to send his teacher. But most of all, he loved gardening. The fun of his fingers in dirt, the surprise of seeds sprouting from the ground, and the brightness of the blooms of the flowers. So Carlos posed in front of his flowers. And here's a sign that says Carlos Garden. He's got a little truck, a little dump truck in the garden, and some sort of little building type thing over here. And here's this ball out here that he plays with sometimes, but he's smiling, and so that's what he's going to send to his teacher. The night before school began, Carlos lay awake for a long time. And when he finally fell asleep, he dreamed that he was lost in a scary forest. And you see the picture here. This is his dream. Look at the expression and the look on his face. He just looks so frightened. And then the next morning, Carlos woke early. His tummy was twisting and turning, but then after breakfast, he rushed out and picked the most beautiful daisy for Mrs. Boucher, his teacher. And if you'll notice in both of these pictures, he's got his book bag on and he's ready to go. We'll go slow now so you can see the pictures. Carlos clutched his flower with both hands. Would Mrs. Boucher like it? His mother gave him a hug and walked him onto the bus. He still looks like he's a little bit afraid of going this first day. And I will say this to you. Sometimes children go the first day by themselves, but a lot of times on the first day of school, the parents or the mother will go with the student. And they won't stay all day, of course, but they'll take them in and maybe speak to the teacher. All right. Carlos slid into an empty seat and gently set the daisy down. Chatter and laughter filled the air. Everyone seemed to know one another. A lot of the kids were so much bigger than him. And you see them here on the bus, and they're waving to each other and talking to each other. He still looks frightened, doesn't he? When the bus swayed around a corner, he glanced back and saw a boy holding a rose. The boy smiled and nodded, and then Carlos heard a voice. He loves me not. He loves me not. An older girl was plucking petals off a daisy, and that's what a lot of people will do with a daisy. They'll pull the petal off and say, he loves me, and then pull another one off, he loves me not. And maybe they're talking about one of their friends or their boyfriend, and then the last one that they pull off, if it's he loves me, then he loves them. Or if it's he loves me not, it means he does. It's just a fun thing to do. Now, where do you think she got that daisy? Okay, so she was plucking the petals off the daisy. Carlos looked down and his flower was gone. Oh, no. That's mine, he exclaimed, grabbing it back. I'm sorry, said the girl. I found it on the floor. Oh, it's ruined. Carlos squeezed his eyes tight, and a tear fell. He tried poking the petals back in place, but they wouldn't stay. He's so sad his flower's been ruined. The bus pulled up at school. I'm really sorry, the girl said again. You have a good first day. And she was older than he was, and he just slumped over in his seat. And here's the boy with the rose. He just feels so sorry for him. But wait a minute. What in the world is this? Look outside this window. There's something out there. Oh, let's read on and see what's going on. The boy with the rose paused in the aisle. That means he stopped in the aisle, and he was trying to talk to Carlos. Come on, he encouraged, waving Carlos out. And Carlos peered out the window. That means he looked out the window. He's trying to get him to come on and get off the bus so they can go to school. And then he saw it. Oh my goodness. The most magnificent, stupendous, tremendous hat bouncing and dipping. The hat's right outside the window and it's moving. The brim of the hat, that's the outside edge, tipped up, and he glimpsed a smiling lady. It was, who do you think it was? That's right. It was his teacher, Mrs. Boucher. Children gathered around her, and they offered her real flowers and ones made of silk, paper, and plastic. And one kid even gave her a balloon blossom. Now look at her hat, and she's beginning to put some of the flowers on top of the hat. Carlos took a deep breath, and then he stepped off the bus and he stood under a tree. He looks so sad over here, doesn't he? And look at the bus drivers looking at him, and he feels so sorry for him. Mrs. Bechet flipped through the photos, and she was called. And these were the photos that the kids had sent her. And so she had them with her, and she started calling out the names of the students. Her students lined up. Here's a little boy with the rose, and over here some more kids are coming in, and here's a father pushing a little girl in a wheelchair. And as the students lined up, she called the names. Carlos, she called. Carlos Abrito? Carlos Abrito. Is he here? And he gave just a tiny wave. As Miss Bechet approached him, Carlos dropped what was left of the daisy behind his back. Hi, Carlos, she said. Welcome to kindergarten. He sniffed and said, I don't have a flower for you anymore. I don't have a flower at all. Oh, that's okay, Miss Bechet said, and Carlos pointed to his photo. See that big daisy? That was for you. Oh, it was? Asked Mrs. Bechet, and here he is showing her the picture. So guess what she's going to do? Look at the picture closely. Now, he didn't have a flower, but he had the picture. So Carlos took a deep breath. Maybe we can just pretend? Oh, what a good idea, said Mrs. Bechet. She nestled the picture smack in the middle of her hat. We're going to have a fun year. Let's go start our first day. And look, she has got the pictures. She's putting the picture in the top of her hat. So he did have something to give to her. It wasn't a real flower, but it was the picture of one, wasn't it? And then Carlos gave Mrs. Bechet the other thing he was supposed to bring to school. And that was, if you will look at him in this picture, a great big kindergarten smile. So he was happy after all, wasn't he? Oh, look, and here he is up here in this. His picture is in the very middle of her hat, and all the kids are having a fun time. I know you enjoyed that book, The Kindergarten Hat, because I certainly did. And I hope to see you next Thursday at 10 o'clock for our story time. Have a good day, and I love you, and remember, God loves you too.
Deep and wide, there's a fountain flowing deep and wide. Deep and wide, there's a fountain flowing deep and wide. B-I-B-L-E. Yes, that's the book for me. I stand alone on the Word of God. The B-I-B-L-E. Bible! The B-I-B-L-E. Yes, that's the book for me. I stand alone on the Word of God. The B-I-B-L-E. Bible! The B-I-B-L-E. Yes, that's the book for me. I stand alone on the Word of God. The B-I-B-L-E. Bible!